The Toronto Blue Jays had a chance to win their first World Series since 1993. Instead, it will go to a game 7. I'm Dan with Kyle and CJ. CJ, it will be remembered for 3 things. The Jays lose 3-1. We had an intentional walk in the third to Shohei Ohtani. We had a lodged ball in the bottom of the 9th under the wall, and we had Addison Barger getting double up at second to end the game. Where do you want to start?
Was that 3 or 4? So where I would start is where we're hot right now, and the way that whole 9th inning went down. I mean, the Jays do a great job of getting the Los Angeles Dodgers on the ropes. Right? We know they have all kinds of bullpen issues, and to get to that second and third, they did an excellent job. The call and the ball being lodged is one of my biggest frustrations. When I first came into the game, the way that rule worked was that if you felt like a ball had gotten lodged, then you can raise your hands if you didn't think you get it out. And an umpire would come out and check, and he would make the call of whether or not the baseball actually was unplayable. Clearly, it was playable because Dean picked it up and threw it in. I mean, you sit there and you watch it, you can see 80% of the baseball. It's not lodged where it's stuck, right? It's just a lucky bounce that it stopped at the bottom of the wall right there where there's a little bit of a gap, where there's no fight to get the baseball to pick it up and get it in. But that's the call they made. They don't do that anymore. They don't go out there and check. They basically take an outfielder's word for it. As long as the ball's not moving and kind of stopped, then they'll consider that wedged. But you used to be taught, if you're going to raise your hands, don't ever pick it up and throw it in, because if you do, then that negates the call. But that doesn't happen anymore. I don't know why. It's a bad rule. It's not a bad call. They followed the rules. It's just a bad rule that they have changed. That one really hurt the Jays bad. Nothing anybody else could do on that one, but they should have scored a run, and quite honestly, even 2. Dean's in there for his defense. But, if the call went the way it used to go, this game is tied because he didn't throw it in. He waited too long. So that part was really frustrating to watch. It's a frustrating rule. It happened earlier this year when I was on the call for an Atlanta Braves game. It's one thing if a ball bounces in the ivy and you can't see it, sure. But if a ball's kind of sitting there like touching a pad, no, you can pick it up and throw it in, and you should.
So, CJ, the call in the field did, in fact, stand. But at that point, the Jays had runners on second and third with no outs, bottom of the 9th, down 2. They're still in an absolutely excellent position at that point with one of their best hitters coming to the plate. But only 2 more hitters made it to the plate with no outs. Walk us through what we saw there.
It was only 2 pitches. It wasn't very many pitches either. All of a sudden, it went over. It ended really quickly. So we saw Ernie Clement. First of all, Tyler Glasnow comes into the game. Right, he could still start tomorrow. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, a little bit later. But he comes in the game. We knew that he would be live tonight because you had to win this game for the Los Angeles Dodgers, and they're thin in the bullpen, and he was a fresh arm. So he comes in. Sasaki was having some command issues. You could see right from the beginning he wasn't right. We talked about this the other day, right, where you can't just get away with a get-me-over breaking pitch with runners in scoring position. Ernie Clement's had a really good year. Ernie Clement has a plan of what he wants to do there. It was a good 2-seam fastball that had good run that finished in on the hands, and it ends up being a really bad look, right? You got second and third, and that's the kind of contact that you get on a first pitch. It's unfortunate. I get the plan. He was unable to pick up on the fact that ball was running in on his hands and went after it and thought maybe that he could pull it and just got jammed really, really bad. It's a worst case kind of scenario. You want a minimum a productive out. In that spot that scores a run and maybe even moves Barger up to third. So that kind of set the tone for what was going to get a little bit ugly there. So I get the idea of maybe trying to put some pressure, looking for a fastball early for a guy who's not a reliever, although he did pitch out of the bullpen earlier this year in the postseason for Tyler Glasnow. He also knows how to get swing and miss, so you don't want to get to 2 strikes. He's got a great breaking ball. It was just the wrong pitch to offer at, obviously, because of the contact that we saw. Then for what happened with, you're sitting there thinking, okay, second and third, George Springer's going to get a shot at this. If Jimenez doesn't end it somehow, some way with a home run, George Springer's going to get up in a huge opportunity. And it's a soft line drive to left field that I don't know what Addison Barger was doing. But I mean, I'm not going to pick on him because I like him. I think he's a really good player and he's done a lot of good things. That is a terrible, terrible play. You're not going anywhere. There was certainly no one on first. There's nobody on first, so you're not forced, right? So you're not worried about, man, I got to make sure I get to third if this ball gets down. No, you do not. And if that ball gets down, there's no guarantee, even because it's so shallow, that you're going to have a runner score there. You may have to wait. It's one of those weird kind of plays that you actually might see a ball get down and potentially not a run score. Now, it's a low chance of that happening, but it doesn't matter. What's most important is you're the tying run. And if you can't advance, you can't advance. You're not going anywhere. So the fact that happened, that he gets doubled up, and now you take the bat, out of George Springer's hands. Again, I feel bad saying it. I'm going to pick on him. But it's a terrible play, and there's no getting around it. And I had wondered about Addison Barger and what, the pinch run. We talked about that back in that 18-inning game and whether or not you really should have pinch ran for him. I might pinch run for him all the time now after I saw that.
To get us to that 9th inning and a 3-1 deficit, the 3rd inning happened. The only blemish on Gosman's game, and it looked like he was going to get through the 3rd, and there was a double, and then he intentionally walked Ohtani. I texted you at the time. I said, was that the right decision?
That's the other thing, right? That we say one thing that we believe all the time, which is, you know what? Don't let Shohei Ohtani beat you. But what has his postseason really been? It's been a couple of really good games, and other than that, he has struggled. And we saw Kevin Gausman handle him pretty well in his first at-bat. So I was not fearing Shohei Ohtani in that spot. Could he crush a mistake? Could he be a little bit better second time around? Sure. All of those things are true. But I did not love necessarily putting him on base in that spot. And then what happens? You end up with bases loaded, and now you got all the pressure in the world to throw strikes. And unfortunately, and that was the other part of this that we talked about, was kind of the pitch selection to Mookie Betts. It was still mislocation. But it was 3 straight fastballs. He had him set up perfect for the split. I don't know why he didn't throw it in that spot. Mookie Betts has been scuffling. His timing is off. You got him late on a fastball. You're going to what we call speeding up his bat. He's going to try to get started a little bit earlier, and then you throw that split in that spot, and there's a pretty good chance he's going to swing right over the top of it. So the way that whole thing went down, the Shohei Ohtani walk, I get why you did it. That's a very debatable conversation, but I remember thinking at the time, there was no witnesses, so I was watching the game by myself, but I didn't love it at the time. So I promise you I did have that same thought, but it ended up not working out.
Yeah, that is also my first note from this game as well. I felt like you don't take the ball out of your ace's hand at that point when Ohtani had essentially gone cold for 3 straight games, more or less, and he was waving at a lot of pitches. What did you think in the bottom of the 7th when they allowed Jimenez to stay in and hit against a left-handed Wroblewski?
Yeah. So that's a tough one too, right? I mean, I guess your option there is Davis Schneider. We have seen Jimenez come up in some pretty big spots. He had some pretty good swings. He did a really good job, and they mentioned it on the Fox broadcast, of laying off a 2-strike breaking ball, which kind of got me a little excited about maybe where this thing could be headed. Like, is he seeing the baseball really well? But then he got blown away, unfortunately, with a pretty good fastball. It's a tough matchup, certainly, and you're down. And you saw what happened with Snell and the home run on the first pitch fastball. I think that probably hindsight's 2020. I kind of now wish we could have seen what David Schneider could have done in that spot. But I get why they keep him in there, I guess. But it is late, and you got a chance to strike, and unfortunately, it couldn't come through.
Your cat's irate.
Yeah, my cat's not happy, Dad. He was really looking. He doesn't want another night of this. He just can't deal with it. He started smoking yesterday, so I don't,
But let's be honest. We
have to.
Yes, we we didn't expect this, but this is not a surprise that the game played out like this because it was Yamamoto. So I don't know if people were already preparing themselves for a game 7, but it's not a shocker because he is the one pitcher that has stymied the Jays.
Yep, for sure. And so here we go. And it's going to be a tough one. Now, as far as, what we see here, I mean, Yamamoto, the thing about Yamamoto, which was interesting and kind of watching this thing play out, I'm like, man, he's locked in again. Like, this guy is going to deal. And then all of a sudden he was done after 6 innings. And we really thought maybe the pitch count was going to be able to climb up. I didn't see it, but I had one buddy text me, said he was kind of playing with his forearm, sitting in the dugout. So obviously he wasn't feeling right. I don't know if anything was made of it. I didn't see it. So I guess he always going to be careful. It's kind of speculating. But remember, we had wondered about his routine getting disrupted as far as warming up in that 18-inning game. Was it a big deal? Probably not. But ultimately, maybe it affected him a little bit. He looked really good early on, but he couldn't go nearly as deep as he wanted to. And really, this is one of those games like Game 3 that you feel like the Jays at least should have tied it, but probably had a really good chance to win it where they couldn't come through. And that is unfortunate because they got to the bullpen. Again, the game plan is to get to the bullpen. They'll have a chance to do it again tomorrow for sure. And it's going to be a wild one. We'll see what happens with Glass now. You only threw a couple of pitches, how you best play this thing, but man, it is going to be wild, this Game 7.
CJ, before we speculate too much on what happens tomorrow, from tonight's game, it appears as though the Dodgers bats didn't really wake up or anything like that. They were effective but not explosive. What are some other positive takeaways for Jays fans from tonight?
Well, I mean, they were right in it against a really tough pitcher, right? I think that point matters. Probably the biggest one is George Springer having some success. I know the second hit he kind of laughed about. The first one, we watched these swings early on, very first swing. I'm like, oh, he's not right. And you can see him, and I think he's trying to hide it. I think some guys, if they're dramatic, maybe try to play it up a little bit. He is trying to hide his discomfort the best he possibly can. It looked like after that first swing, one of the bigger ones we saw, that he was trying with everything he had not to grab his side. Right. And if you notice, too, his right arm was just kind of staying straight down. Right. He kept his right arm straight, but his left arm was kind of in that standard kind of running motion, even when he was jogging a couple of times. So he was feeling it. When he came through with that opposite field shot, I was like, oh, that is a really good sign. I didn't have the confidence that he could do it then. And so that's some really encouraging news as far as he is showing you that he can swing the bat, that he can let it fly. They brought it up on the broadcast, and I agree the check swings are always concerning, probably more than the full swings. That happened a couple of times. He's probably going to wake up a little bit sore, whatever injection he had today. And I'm just speculating, of course, but he'll probably have to have it again tomorrow. And you appreciate everything about George Springer. But the fact that he was able to get a couple of hits and take some really healthy swings tonight is probably one of the biggest pluses.
We always talk about the next man up, how there's a different hero every game for the Jays. If there was going to be a Game 7 hero for Toronto, I wouldn't mind seeing Dalton Varsho, because is it just me, or has he been up in a big moment with runners on base in this series every single game, and he has yet to do anything about it?
Yeah, so he has gotten a little chase happy. And you're right. He has been in spots. Obviously, he's already had some moments this postseason. But the thing for me with him that you get a little frustrated with at times is even tonight, I think it was his last at bat. First pitch he offers that is out of the zone. And then you knew later with 2 strikes he was going to chase again. Again, you could just have a feel kind of the way that the at bat was going. So there's been some times where he has been a little bit over anxious, which had been really the story of what had been going on the other side with the Dodgers, where they'd kind of gotten out of what they did best, and all of a sudden they started expanding the zone. Well, we'll see if they have any momentum. Mookie Betts probably feeling a little bit better about where he was. They dropped him to 4th. He had a big hit, a really big hit in tonight's game. But I think in the case of Varsho, certainly he has it in him. We've seen it. It's just a matter now of, can you control your emotions in what is going to be the most intense game that any of these guys have ever played in, at least on the Blue Jays side. I know the Dodgers have been through it quite a bit, and then not expand the zone. That's, to me, what it's going to take.
So looking ahead to tomorrow now, it appears as though we're getting some variation of a bullpen game from both teams. Just it's a war of attrition at this point. I would imagine we're going to see Scherzer start the game. If not him, then Bieber. And Bassett will be available for a few innings as well. So you have multiple guys that can give you 2, 3, maybe 4 innings if needed. And I assume the Dodgers will be in basically the same mess.
Yeah, so the Dodgers are not in as bad of a position. I say bad, just not. I think their situation is kind of assessing what they can get from Ohtani. They did a good job of explaining tonight on television what that means, the Ohtani rule, and why he would probably start over coming out of the bullpen. Because if he comes out of the bullpen and then he's done pitching as a reliever, you got to put him in the field. Otherwise, you're going to lose your DH spot. So there's a little bit of risk involved there. I think especially since we saw Glass now, again, it was only a couple of pitches, but because he was in this game, it seems like the easy decision would be to have Shohei Ohtani start, go as long as he possibly can, which who knows, might only be 4 innings. I mean, you got to be very careful. Remember, of course, he's coming off an injury. He has basically been rehabbing in the big leagues this entire time. And, where he's built his way up and now he's at full strength, but how much do you really want to push him? So maybe it's, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 innings with Glass now probably behind him. Maybe use a reliever if it's in the middle of an inning. And then Glass now, we saw Emmett Sheehan up. He is also a multi-inning guy. Will Klein, who, was a no-name guy that nobody knew about, who became somewhat of a hero in the 18-inning game. Certainly another guy that's going to be in a good spot for multiple innings. It'll be interesting to see if he gets a big spot in the game and can repeat what he did. That'll be kind of a fascinating potential storyline if they get to him. So I think the Dodgers, from a pitching standpoint, at least on the starting side, might be in a little bit of a better spot, or at least for the guys that can give them some length. But it's Game 7. As we know, anything can happen.
Scherzer was slotted, but why not throw a curveball and start Bassett?
That's a good question. So Bassett obviously through tonight. I think, listen, if Bieber's available, I guess it depends on what level, right? It's like, hey, if you need me, I can go. Then you're not starting that guy. And Bassett's good to go. It's a fair question. The game has changed in that regard. Do I want him a little bit later? But what if you have issues and all of a sudden you're down by 4? And what's the point?
The
Right?
reason
And
I
that's
say that is
yeah.
Scherzer down the stretch, his first inning was his Achilles heel.
Yeah, it's fine. It's a good point. It's fair. And we know that it is for a lot of guys. Even a lot of good pitchers over the years have had issues in that first inning. Maybe it's not a terrible idea. I guess the other part of that is just where you're at with Scherzer and coming out of the pen. And at this point, at 41 years old, and what you're asking him to do routine wise, I'm not saying does he have to long toss every time he pitches? Is he a guy that needs the outfield to be able to stretch it out so he can get his arm right? I feel like he is I'll do whatever you ask me to do kind of guy, just the way Chris Bassett is. But it's not a bad thought. I wouldn't be upset about it if I was a Jays fan or trying to strategize and figure out what's best in this game. And so maybe you do go that route, and maybe it's Scherzer after a couple of guys and trying to hold this game down, or maybe it just turns into a bullpen day.
If he needs the long toss, all the roads around the dome are blocked off. They can just put him outside. Imagine the visuals of that. What? He's outside.
And then running in, that'd be like an SNL skit, something, from the 80s.
Yeah. Oh, Kyle, you're muted.
How about the idea then that if Scherzer does get the start tomorrow night, just from a mental toughness, a guy that's been to this dance before, we saw some nerves from Sasaki tonight. I would say it was pretty fair. His control was a little wild and he couldn't get the job done that they hoped. Matt Scherzer, from a mental perspective, is the exact opposite of that. He's been here before.
Yeah, he has. So there's something to that. I think with all the veterans, that you could potentially see on both sides starting, I'm not really too concerned about anybody, right? Guys I'd be concerned about are kind of what we saw tonight, like Roki Sasaki, who hadn't thrown a ton out of the bullpen in his career. I know he's done it here in the postseason. On the Jays side, I don't think there's anybody you're really too concerned about. I guess we are, I guess it'd be 2 days rest for Trey Savage, right? So he'll be live for sure. It's a bullpen day. He very well could have, 30 pitches in him tomorrow. That is definitely not out of the realm of possibility. It's a really long first year, and I'm not worried about him. I'm just trying to think about if there are any young guys there when it comes to kind of that mental edge that you are, talking about or concerned about. I mean, he'll have it because he always has it. With Max, it's just more about where he is physically. We know he's going to come in like a madman. That's not up for debate. That's not a question. It's how does he look and can he get outs and how many can he get? One time through the lineup would be great. I'm sure John Schneider would be thrilled.
CJ, I don't know if you saw, but this game 6 was the most expensive ticket to a sporting event in Canadian history, which means game 7 will beat that record. And for the broadcasters, you cannot get anything better than a game 7. We already spoke about the ratings, how they are doing very well, especially in Canada. That is very obvious. But even for Fox, who always feared having the Jays, but a game 7, that's a ratings windfall for your advertisers.
Yeah, for everybody across the board. They're crushing it in Japan as well, especially if Shohei Ohtani gets the start tomorrow. They'll be doing really well. Nobody's going to have any issues with any of those networks and these right holders.
It's a perfect ending to this series. It's just been
it's
been
a
Saturday
great
series.
Yeah.
So they can play 18 tomorrow. I don't care if they play 18 tomorrow.
Yeah, but it's a Saturday game. I wish they started it like 6:00 so kids could watch it.
Yeah, I know it. But at least on Saturday, you can stay up late. I think mom and dad will allow that to happen. But no, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be a great atmosphere. So we gave away 2 tickets today on our radio show. I think I told you we've been giving 2 away every day. So we gave away game 7, like just in case. The guy that won them is from just outside of San Diego. So we're sitting here going through, we're looking at like the cheapest you can get for if he wants to drive up to LAX like now and you catch like a 6 a.m. flight or whatever. It was like $1,500 if you wanted to fly to San Diego. It was going to be like $2,000, and there's no transportation provided. Look, we'll give you the tickets, but that's where
we'll give you the tickets. You're on your own.
Yeah. And they even said when the guy called, they're like, "Hey, you sure, dude? Like, you sure you? I mean, we can move on to the next person. You're pretty much in San Diego, and the game's in Toronto." He's like, "No, I'm going to take them." So
it's cheaper to rent a private jet than to buy the tickets, anyways. At this point, but CJ, the part that you don't actually know yet is that same fan was ejected for running onto the field tonight in the middle of the game.
Gosh.
So the entire country is holding you personally responsible.
That's right. Could have been.
Before we let you go, I'd like to hear your thoughts on or speculate on the type of conversation Schneider's having in that clubhouse right now tonight on the eve of Game 7.
There's probably not much of a post-game meeting, quite honestly. I know, obviously, with baseball, we talk about a lot. It's a long season. You got to be careful about when you have your meetings and be very selective to make sure that your message is received. I don't think you have to say anything after the game because you don't usually get together. It's one thing in football, right? It's once a week. And for sports where you're not playing as much, there's a lot more of that kind of post-game. It's kind of only if necessary. I think tomorrow, if you feel like if anything needs to be said, you don't want to force it either. But if you see anything with your team or you feel something that you're convicted about, maybe you address the guys. But there's not necessarily the level of post-game meetings all the time, maybe a little bit more in the postseason, but it doesn't exist the way it does in other sports. And there's a reason for that because, the Jays are up to, 176 games or whatever it is that they played now since the beginning of the season and continuing here into the postseason. And John Schneider feels like he's a man of few words. I think he does a good job. He feels like from the outside that he kind of picks his spot. So no message necessarily needs to be sent. And do you pull Addison Barger aside a little bit? Maybe the third base coach does and talk about Carlos Phoebus. What'd you see at least there? Just so everyone's clear on everything that they need to know and make sure nothing is missed. You don't want to make too big of a deal about it either because you got a really important game to play tomorrow, but you want to make sure that everybody has a frame of mind and exactly how it ended up being the way that it was, and you want to make sure he's not beating himself up over it either.
Yeah,
and you just kind of say those positive things like how important he has been to the team and how much we're going to need you tomorrow. So just flush it and let's go win it.
Yeah.
So I think it's simple. If anything, maybe a pregame if you feel like you have to.
Thanks for the reminder. I remember watching like, wow, there's no chance anyone gets doubled up. He's just thrown over to second. He's just fooling around. Oh, he got him. Yeah. The biggest thing I would think is the players, because we've all played a game of baseball in our backyard. We've all played a game of baseball by ourselves, throwing the ball against the wall where it's Game 7 of the World Series. So you almost have to have a pep talk among the players. You don't be the hero. You don't need to be the hero.
Yep. Pass it. Like the way Vladdy reacted after the walk, right? You can look at it two ways, right? I think you can look at it and say, man, is he not upset that he didn't get a chance, that he's kind of passing the baton and it wasn't him, right? No. He's like, let's go. I'm here I am now, a really big run, innings going, right? And now he's passing it to Bo, and he's got all the confidence in the world in Bo in the way that he reacts, right? He's not that he's happy that he walked and didn't get a chance to hit. He's happy that he's getting on base and the inning's going to keep going. It's that kind of attitude, I think, that you see from guys. And this clubhouse seems to have it. I don't know. Where are you at on the nickname? This is the first time I heard it was tonight. The Glue Jays?
No, I've never heard that.
I
never heard that one.
Okay. So they talk about how tight this team is. I think Joe Davis might have said, I was like, that's kind of cheesy. I don't know if it's real or not, but he said they call them the Glue Jays. And I don't feel like he made that up.
I've never heard that.
Never in my life.
But I'm like, well, let's make some t-shirts and make some money then.
Thanks, CJ.
See you guys.
That's CJ Nitkowski, our MLB insider. And here we go. Here we go.
Deep breaths, Dan. Deep breaths.
I don't know. My body cannot take it doesn't need to take another game after tomorrow.
No. It seems to me like the way this team has managed things all along here, this was almost inevitable.
Yes.
I'm as a fan of the team and as someone that would like for them to win, I feel bad about the way things went down tonight, but not with how they played and stuff, because we knew tonight was going to be tough. Yep. Yamamoto had good stuff. He was not quite as good as the previous outing, and they played him better. The bats are probably going to be fine, and we saw their best, and Ohtani on a little bit shorter rest. Who knows, right? As CJ pointed out, he's basically been rehabbing in the majors the entire time, but it's all hands on deck for both teams, and baseball deserves this. This is going to be fantastic one way or the other.
And to anyone listening or watching this, whatever you did, and if you're a Jays fan, to watch this game, switch it up. Because my mom lives 1 minute away. I'm like, well, no, I didn't go there the last 2 games to watch any of the game with her. I can't do that. So switching it up, gonna be able to go watch some of Game 7 with my mom. So that'll change the mojo. I hope you do the same. Whatever you did this evening, don't do it again tomorrow.
It's I got to develop some sort of a new routine. I got to pick a proper rally cap, but I got to calm down, to be honest with
I
you.
know, I'm wearing out a hole in my floor.
The amount of social media messages and texts I got that were just one word swear words tonight in key moments. It was truly alarming. I have friends that are out on the town right now. They're at Halloween parties. They're in bars. They're in clubs. And I'm getting messages. They're just turning the music on now when the game ended. They were all playing the audio. They were all playing the video.
Mhm.
Ripley's Aquarium had it on. It was people were going nuts in the train station. I heard from all over. And it was heartbreak tonight. But we live to fight another day.
And we get to have that collective experience game on an even bigger level. And one thing that this game provided, like all the other Jays games to this point, it wasn't boring, which means Game 7, it's going to be everything that we want it to be. And let's hope it's the ending we want it to be as well. We'll see after that one tomorrow.